Hello, welcome to Brewskis and Housekeys. I am Nicole Kostelecki.
And I'm Nick Papantanakis.
And we are here with Remax Alliance in Old Town, Arvada. How's it going, Nick?
Pretty good. I'm happy to be sitting in this room with you and with Nico after what seems like a lifetime off from doing this.
It's been a minute. A couple weeks.
It's not
a
fun.
Month, maybe.
I don't like the being deprived of this. So
right.
This is happy to be back. But gosh, it's summertime, so did some little family vacation time, I guess, back in end of June. And
where'd you go?
We got out to the East Coast, went to Boston, and took a couple day trip down to New York from there, and we were out there for like 10 days. So it was lots of fun. Did a lot. Saw a baseball game, saw a Broadway show, ate and traveled around and saw a bunch of historical things. So it was a lot of fun. It was a true family vacation.
Have you been out there before?
No.
Really?
It was the first time, and it was there's a lot of history obviously in that area, and we dragged Jane along to all of the historical things that we wanted to see.
I bet she liked it though.
She found a way to be positive about it, which I appreciate, because when I was a kid, I didn't do a good job of that. So she was good about it.
Did you do a lot of museums, or?
We did the Met in New York while we were there, which was awesome. And then we did the Freedom Trail in Boston, which is, the revolutionary time frame. And we saw cemeteries, we saw historical buildings. We thought it was interesting. And because of the musical Hamilton that Jane loves, she knows a lot about people like, Thomas Jefferson and whoever else is, part of the revolution that's in that. So thankfully, because she's cultured because of Hamilton, thank you, Lin-Manuel Miranda, for doing that. That's why she was into it. So that's what I've been up to. How about you?
Just been working, golfing. I went up to South Dakota for the 4th of July.
How was that?
Very fun. They have so much festivities going on in the Black Hills. I don't know if you've ever been in general.
I have, but not for the 4th.
So it's really neat. They didn't have the fireworks at Mount Rushmore, which they usually do. So hopefully that will continue soon. But they did have fireworks shows kind of all over the surrounding of the Black Hills, and then different festivals going on, and it was awesome.
Dang.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, I haven't
been
been
up
up there in forever. I know that's a regular travel trip for you, though. So.
Right.
Man. And the 4th in general, I feel like would be amazing being around that kind of an area. And it's not that bad in Arvada. It's pretty fun, actually. We have a good time with the Stanger fireworks and all that, too. But being up there kind of out away from everybody a little bit.
I feel like I've never really spent 4th of July here, so I don't really know.
Really?
But, yeah, I think only like once in my whole life, which is crazy being from here. It just is a norm to go up north.
But that's awesome. That's tradition.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. Let's talk a little bit about this beer here. What do you got in your glass?
So we are drinking Ratio Beer Works, which is located in Rhino, so in Denver. And I am drinking the Exploratory IPA Series Undone Volume 9.
A little West Coast IPA action.
Mm-hmm.
Is it... West Coast is usually pretty hoppy. Are we talking pretty hoppy?
It's pretty hoppy, but not like crazy, overly hoppy.
You're not licking a pine tree.
Right. No, and not much fruity flavors.
Okay.
So just very crisp IPA, easy drinking.
Yeah, I think I got the fruity flavors on mine, for sure.
Matches.
I also from Ratio, this is called the All Right Already lemon blonde ale, and lemon is the operative word there. It's very fruit forward. It's got that tartness right up front. You can definitely even smell the lemon a little bit as you're taking your sip, but it's very refreshing. I know we've said this a lot over the summer, but it's been a very hot summer. These kinds of beers just kind of they scratch the itch.
Especially this week. Ugh. It's been in like the high 90s every day. And I don't have air conditioning at my house.
I don't either. Really? What are we doing? We should find a good realtor to help us find a house with air conditioning.
Or an HVAC. I think that's smarter.
Anyway, Ratio Beer Works, we'll give their address again at the end, but definitely check them out. They're down in the Rhino district where there's a few breweries, but definitely one of my favorites in Denver for sure.
Yeah.
On to our topic for today. We're talking the market update for the month of June.
Yep. So, as we said earlier, we've been away for a little while, so we wanted to make sure you guys are up to date on the market because it is shifting a little bit. And
Is
it's,
it? I don't know if I'd heard that. I don't know if. I feel like it's
well,
everywhere. Everything and everywhere on the news. That's all people are talking about lately.
yeah, but it's important to look at it on a local level and not just national because every
100%.
market's different.
Absolutely.
So, really important to just kind of dig deep and see what we're seeing. So I'll go ahead and kind of get started as far as average prices, median prices, and whatnot. So just with all of residential, and as I've said before, it's important to look at the median price as opposed to just the average, but I'll go ahead and give that for all residential right now. But the average price was $719,210, which was just a little bit of increase from May, so 0.73. So that was the average.
And that accounts for all of the Denver metro area, right? Which could
Correct.
help make that average kind of maybe skewed a little bit in areas that are higher dollar.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you want to get in the nitty-gritty of it, you have to kind of look at each neighborhood.
Right.
Talk to one of us, and we can help you out.
That's good advice.
Yeah. But then as far as detached homes, so single-family homes, the median price for the month of June was $673,873, which was actually just a point, or nope, I read the wrong one. Nope, that's right. So a 0.58% increase from May. So that's for detached homes.
It's still increasing, and folks have asked a lot about what's happening with the market and will prices decrease. And I think the mindset maybe is more from the standpoint of how much are they increasing versus how much were they increasing 3 months ago.
Right. And also it takes a little bit of time for the market to kind of catch up.
Right.
With what we're seeing as we're out there in the trenches. So that was the detached home. For an attached home, so like a condo, townhouse, the median price was $430,000 in the Denver metro area, which actually was the same exact as May. So
for the first time in who knows how long.
Right.
Gosh, that's
Right.
that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. The June, and then the median price for just all residential, everything, was $615,000, which was also the same as May.
That's refreshing.
Yeah.
I think
so too.
I mean, we'll talk
like
a lot
the
about
beer.
Yeah. Gosh, we'll talk a lot about, what this means for buyers, what this means for sellers, but I think the big takeaway is, what was happening even a few months ago was never going to be a sustainable way to do what we do, buying and selling. So it's nice to see some relief for some people, I think.
Right. Yeah. I think what this is telling us is we're starting to see prices level out. So with May and June being the same for the median price for residential all around, I think that's really cool to look at and see. And then also, just to give you an idea of what we were seeing back at the beginning of the year as opposed to now, I mean, back in February, we were seeing 6.5% increase, and then March was 4.8%. So it's very interesting. So it's nice and refreshing,
Very
I think.
much so. I agree with you. And yeah, we talked about it a few months ago in the market update. Wow, it's great to see that increase shrinking every month. And now look at us that we've hit a flat month over month number. That's incredible, for the sake of some sanity.
And sustainability.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. I agree. So some more numbers to throw at you here. Average days in the MLS for a listing was 10 days. That's an 11% increase, or if you're doing the math at home, that's one extra day from the previous month. Not crazy.
Right.
And still 10 days, the seasoned veterans in our office remind us that 10 days on the MLS is still really fast for a home to be going. So it's important to kind of have that, different perspectives on how things are going. Mm-hmm. Everything's relative, obviously, but that's an important one. This is the big heavy hitter, and I can't wait to talk about this one. There were, at the end of the month, at the end of June, 6,057 active listings at the end of the month. That is almost 66% increase from the end of May. We're talking over double, or almost double, I'm sorry, we were talking there. So end of May, we were talking 3,600 homes roughly, 6,000 homes. It's still not a ton, right? But it is substantial compared to what we've seen.
Well, it is substantial, and yeah, yes, it is. And year over year, what about that number?
Year over year, what if you look back at June of 2021, where it was an insane time, obviously. That this is an increase of inventory at the end of the month of 94%. We literally had so little last year.
Right.
And this year we're actually seeing some sort of, I don't know, like I said, sanity. And I think that's a big deal for a lot of our, I keep saying that, but it's a big deal for a lot of the people that we're trying to work with and that are looking out there to buy. You know, it's not as frustrating anymore, I think. And that's hopefully helpful. As far as active listings go, you know, there's always talk about how much inventory is on hand. Inventory is a hot button word for what we've experienced in the last 18 months. And there again, if we talk to, you know, the seasoned veterans who have been doing this a long time, they say a good number is to have about 6 months worth of inventory, whatever that may mean. To give you some perspective on that, this 6,000 that we mentioned at month's end, that's about a little over one full month's inventory. In the Denver metro area, that's a huge jump from where it was back in January and February. We're talking almost a full percent,
right?
Or I'm sorry, a full month's worth, not a full percent worth of inventory. That's massive. And then you talk about the 4th of July weekend. I mean, our market was actually up to 1.3 months of inventory, which is
after the weekend was over.
Yeah,
which that makes sense because people aren't really looking at houses right after, but it's huge to have that much.
It's the highest number since 2020. I mean, when everything started like this. So that was a big, you know, victory dance as well, in a sense, to be able to have some, like I said, some room to breathe, I think, which was a big part. Last thing, and this is obviously a big thing in the news as well, interest rates continue to do what they're going to do with, you know, the Fed continuing to plan to do at least one or two more hikes by year's end. Currently rates as of today, we're looking at about between 5.69 and 5.75% on a 30-year fixed mortgage conventional loan. So, you know, they're hovering right at that zone. I think they jumped over 6 end of June, early July, but they came down come back down a little bit. Yeah. So it's, you know, all good stuff to know if you're out there looking, for sure.
Right. So yeah, I'll kind of chat a little bit about what that means for buyers. You know, like I said, we're seeing, and Nick said, we're seeing a cooling market trend. Now, not to worry too much because this is typical in summer months. So June, July, we do tend to see that. But it is more pronounced this year than any year that we have seen since 2020, with the months of inventory being at that 1.1, 1.3 at the beginning of the month.
That's huge.
It is huge. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So basically that gives the buyers a little bit more time to kind of see what's out there. Not for all the homes, but at least for some of them. So you can kind of take your time a little bit more, be a little bit more picky, and then find the right home that works for you. And I do think that interest rates are causing some buyers to kind of like hold off, you know, on their home search. I'm sure you've seen that as well.
Yeah.
Just their buying power isn't quite as high as it may have been back in, you know, when the interest rates were lower.
Right.
So it's not quite as high, but at the same time, I do see an opportunity for a lot of buyers because of that, because there are some people that are dropping out, the ones that really need to get a home, that are maybe renting and then want to switch to buying or moving here from somewhere else. It's giving them more of an opportunity, which I think is great. And then also, like I said, some more, you know, negotiation power when it comes to working with sellers.
Which is a foreign topic to buyers if you've been looking in the last 8 to 9 months.
Right. It's kind of neat to see them not be able or not have to put in inspection limitations, you know.
Absolutely. So, protecting them.
Right.
Which we talked about in our inspection episode. I mean, how important it is. So
yes, we did.
It's great that there's that leverage for them again.
Exactly. And, you know, another thing to touch on is there's different, you know, there's lenders out there that have found different ways to navigate this market as well. Like Michelle Beeson, she's with HMA. She's awesome. And she was talking to us about a few different options for buyers. And I think it's important to just talk to a trusted lender and get a few options that they have for you. You know, the lock and shop rate, 2-1 buy down that you can maybe use as leverage with a seller. Just a couple different ideas.
Yeah, I feel like we could do almost a whole episode. Maybe we will do a whole episode on like what options are, you know. But it's really important to have somebody you trust, and I'm glad you brought up Michelle, because I think, you know, Home Mortgage Alliance is very creative and has a very wide array of ideas of how it can best work for the individual. It's not one size fits all.
Exactly.
I think that's a great program, you know, to be a part of. So
yeah. How about for sellers?
So on the seller side, you know, we I keep referencing the folks that are the seasoned veterans, but they say, hey, you know what? It's kind of funny. We're back to selling real estate again. Meaning, you know, folks that can be a professional in this industry can do what they're trained to do and what they're capable of doing. And maybe the folks that saw it as the shiny new thing to start doing are not as equipped for this. I think it's back to, like you said, the negotiations are there, the conversations are there versus, you know, firing off an offer that kind of undercuts a buyer. So it's not necessarily a seller benefit, but I do think it's a little more balanced. I think you mentioned balance earlier, and I think that's a very good word for what we're seeing right now.
Right.
On the actual seller side, you know, I think now more than ever, it's super important to be able to price that home correctly. Speaking from experience with a current listing, you know, it's really important to know up to the minute what is happening in the very, very local neighborhood, but also within the market as a whole, and adjusting accordingly, because we've seen a ton of price reductions on listings, things that are sitting for more than, like we said, 10 days on the market is the average. But
there's some homes that are on there for 2-3 weeks, you know?
Absolutely.
Which is, like our seasoned veterans would say, that's not that long.
Right. They said, you know, you guys are saying it's on there for 2 or 3 weeks. What's wrong with it? They were saying, you know, years ago we'd say it's been on there for 2 years. What's wrong with it? So I mean, you know, that's everything's relative. But you know, one of the things that I speaking of the listing I just talked about, you know, I talked to an agent on a listing that went under contract in the early stages of July, had been on the market for 5 weeks. So, I mean, we're talking that it's happening that way. It's just that shift is happening. And I think, you know, being able to pay attention to how you're pricing it and knowing what is important to advise the seller on to get that home ready. Because now more than ever, it's also important to be able to show well. It can't just pop a sign in the yard and it's going to sell like that. It's not the way anymore. Right. So I think that's a really important one to kind of have in mind, whether it's staging, whether it's, you know, the cleaning. If you're going to host an open house, how are you approaching that? It can't just be, you know, stand there and smile, you know, planning on how you're going to interact with those people coming in and really doing our job. Or
marketing it, making sure that it's known to the public.
Absolutely.
But I think pricing is very important now.
And you mentioned buyers being able to have that room to breathe and a little bit of more selectivity about what they're doing. I think that plays to the sellers, you know, in a way that it would require maybe a skilled and creative agent, wink, wink, to be able to think about ways to market your property that are maybe outside the box a little bit. And there again, I bet we could do a whole episode on that separate from this, you know. And it's really important to know what's important to buyers right now. You know, you talk about rates, you talk about price and all that. How are you approaching that from the sell side? And there are ways to do that for sure. And
just make sure the house is in tip-top shape before you put it on.
Don't be the person on the block who doesn't mow their lawn.
Don't
get us started. Don't get Nicole started on that guy.
I know.
The biggest thing I think in my mind too, from a seller perspective, and this is kind of the final thing I'll say on it, is you don't want to let this freak you out. You know, yes, maybe it's shifting a little bit more towards a balance, or buyers have a little bit more, you know, negotiation power. It doesn't mean that selling is a bad idea right now. I think the biggest thing and the best advice that we can give, and that we maybe would always give, is it's the right time if it's right for you. So if it makes sense to put your home on the market now for you, then there should be no barrier to that. And that's why that advice of a experienced agent should really matter in that regard. So I think, you know, this is a little bit more normal market. So I think it's okay to have it be on the market and set for a little bit, and there will still be success for sure.
Right. Yeah. Ratio.
Yeah, that was a lot of stuff.
So much information.
A lot of information. Obviously, we are here. You can reach out to us on Instagram. You can reach out to us through the comments on Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts. And we'll put our Instagram handles out there as well. But big thank you to Ratio Beer Works. Loved the beer. This lemony goodness is going down way too easy. So we're going to have to hang this recording up soon so I can enjoy another. But if you're looking for them, they're down on 2920 Larimer Street in Denver. They have a second location on South Cherokee as well, so definitely check them out. Also,
they have little, what are they? They had like not a UFC fight there, but like a what is that, wrestling?
WWE?
Yeah.
They
had one in their backyard one
What?
time. Yes, I've seen it. It's pretty funny.
Like real people? Like was The Rock there?
Yes, real people. No,
Man,
it was like
excited.
it was. It wasn't that like exciting.
Just backyard.
But it was just backyard.
Oh, nice. Kimbo
Like,
Slice. Was
yeah.
Kimbo Slice there? Was he there?
I'd keep an eye out for that. I need to see when they do it next because I did go to that once and it was pretty funny.
It sounds like a road trip, group trip. It's a work trip. Obviously, yes. And thank you everybody for listening. Thank you for joining us on our July market update. We're back. We're here. We'll get back to regular production as well. So we'll be seeing you guys much more regularly. If for some reason anything we've done today has entertained you or enlightened you, please go on any one of those fancy places like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube. Like us, subscribe to us, leave us comments. We like feedback. So definitely love hearing the feedback too. And we will see you guys on the next one. Cheers.